Hi, I'm Sarah. Today I'm going to read you the story of Rose, which is titled like this: I overheard my mom call me dumb in front of the whole family. They all clinked glasses. Here's to stupid relatives with money. A month later, they threw my sister's engagement party at my country house, but I changed the locks. Well, let's go. My name is Rose and I'm 35 years old. I guess you could say I had what most people would call a pretty normal life up until recently. I work as a senior account manager at a trading company downtown. The job pays well enough and keeps me busy, which I like. 3 years ago, I got divorced from my husband Mark. It wasn't ugly or anything, just one of those situations where we grew apart. We didn't have kids, thank God, because that would have made everything so much more complicated. The one thing we did have to split up was our country house. It's about an hour outside the city, nothing fancy, but it has 3 bedrooms and sits on about 2 acres of land. Mark didn't want it, said he preferred city life anyway, so it became mine in the divorce settlement. At first, I thought I'd sell the place right away. I mean, what did I need with a big house in the middle of nowhere? I was planning to use the money to buy myself a nice apartment in the city, something modern and close to work. Made perfect sense to me. But then my family got involved. My parents, Janet and Robert, are both in their early 60s and still pretty active. My dad worked construction his whole life and my mom was a teacher before she retired. They've always been the type to stick their noses into everything, especially when it comes to me and my sister. Speaking of my sister, that's Emma. She's 5 years younger than me. Emma works at a boutique downtown and has been dating this guy Trevor for about 2 years. He seems nice enough, works in IT or something like that. Emma's always been the more social one between us two. She loves parties and gatherings and all that stuff. So anyway, when I mentioned selling the house, my whole family freaked out. "Rose, you can't sell that beautiful house," my mom said when I brought it up at Sunday dinner. "Think of all the memories we could make there." "Yeah, sis," Emma chimed in, "it could be like our family retreat spot. We could have barbecues and holiday parties there." I tried to explain that I didn't really need a country house just sitting there empty most of the time. But my mom got this look in her eyes, the same one she used to get when I was a kid, and she really wanted something. "Please, Rose," she said, reaching across the table to grab my hand. "Keep the house, for the family, for me." When my mom gives you the puppy dog eyes and says "for me," it's pretty much impossible to say no. I've always had a soft spot for my family, especially my parents. They worked hard their whole lives and never asked for much. So I agreed to keep the house. Instead of selling it, I took out a mortgage on a nice apartment in the city. Luckily, I had enough saved up from my job to make a big down payment, so my monthly payments aren't too bad. The apartment is perfect for me: 2 bedrooms, modern kitchen, close to work and shopping. The first thing I did after keeping the house was install a security system. I'm a single woman and the house is pretty isolated, so I wanted to feel safe when I was there alone. I had cameras put up around the property and got one of those alarm systems that connects to a monitoring service. Cost me about $3,000, but it was worth it for the peace of mind. I also gave my mom a spare set of keys. She was so happy about that. Over the next 3 years, the house became the unofficial family gathering spot. My parents would drive out there for weekend getaways. Emma would take Trevor there for romantic weekends. During holidays, we'd all pile into the house: me, my parents, Emma, Trevor, sometimes my mom's sister Carol and her husband, my dad's brother Mike and his family. I felt good about my decision. Sure, I was paying a mortgage on my apartment when I could have owned it outright, but seeing my family happy made it worth it. Plus, my job was going well and I could afford the payments without any problem. Emma started bringing Trevor around more and more, and it was pretty obvious they were getting serious. Trevor's parents, Linda and George, even came to a few of our gatherings. They seemed like nice people, maybe a little uptight compared to our family, but pleasant enough. Then one Tuesday evening, my mom called me at home. "Rose, honey, I wanted to let you know we're planning a big family get-together this Friday at your country house," she said. It's going to be me and your dad, Emma, and Trevor, his parents Linda and George, plus Carol and Mike's family. Will you be able to join us? I sighed. I wish I could, Mom, but I have this really important management meeting on Friday. I'll be stuck at the office probably until late. Well, don't worry about it, dear, Mom said in her usual understanding voice. Your work is important. We'll have fun without you. Thanks for understanding, Mom. She hung up and I went back to watching TV, not thinking much about it. But Friday morning everything changed. I was getting ready for the big meeting when my boss called. Rose, I've got some bad news, he said. Both the director and his deputy came down with the flu overnight. We're going to have to postpone the management meeting until next week. Oh, okay, I said, actually feeling a little relieved. Those meetings were always stressful. Take the afternoon off if you want, he continued. There's not much else going on today. After I hung up, I sat there for a minute thinking. My family was all at my country house having a good time, and I suddenly had a free Friday afternoon. Why not surprise them? I smiled to myself. It had been a while since I'd done something spontaneous like this. I could show up with some treats and join the party. They'd be so surprised to see me. I got dressed quickly and drove to this little pastry shop I love downtown. I bought a selection of their best stuff, chocolate croissants, fruit tarts, some fancy cookies. The kind of things that always make people happy. When I pulled into the driveway of my country house, I could see all the lights were on and there were several cars parked outside. Mom and Dad's old Honda, Emma's little red Toyota, Trevor's black SUV, and a couple other cars I recognized as belonging to my aunts and uncles. Everyone was definitely there. I grabbed the bag of pastries and quietly got out of my car. I wanted this to be a real surprise, so I decided to sneak in through the front door using my key. I could hear voices and laughter coming from inside, which made me smile. Everyone sounded like they were having such a good time. I slipped my key into the lock as quietly as possible and turned it slowly. The door opened without a sound. I stepped inside, holding my breath and trying not to make any noise. The voices were coming from the living room, and I could tell there were quite a few people in there. I was just about to walk into the room and yell surprise, when I heard my mom say something that made me freeze in place. I'm telling you, Rose is just so incredibly stupid, my mom was saying, and everyone laughed. I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. Did my mom just call me stupid? She does whatever we tell her to do, Mom continued. Like a little puppet, it's almost too easy. More laughter. I pressed myself against the wall, my heart pounding. Remember when we convinced her not to sell this house? Dad chimed in. She was all ready to sell it and buy herself a nice apartment outright. But we gave her some sob story about family memories and boom, she keeps the house and takes out a mortgage instead. And now we get to use this beautiful place whenever we want, while she's stuck paying for some apartment, my mom said. The girl has no backbone whatsoever. I couldn't breathe, this couldn't be happening. Emma's voice cut through the laughter. Oh, and you guys should hear this, I regularly ask Rose to help me pay my rent. Just call her up crying about how tight money is, and she always says yes. Every single time. How much does she give you? Someone asked. Usually about $800, Emma replied. Sometimes more if I really lay it on thick about how broke I am. The room erupted in laughter again. Then I heard my Aunt Carol's voice. That reminds me of when I called Rose about 6 months ago. I told her I needed money for emergency dental work, said it was going to cost me $2,000 and I didn't have it. And she just gave it to you? Someone asked. Without even asking for proof or anything, Carol laughed. Didn't even want to see a dentist bill or anything. Just transferred the money to my account the next day. So what did you actually spend it on? This was my mom asking. New living room furniture, Carol said proudly. Got this gorgeous sectional sofa and a coffee table set. Rose basically redecorated my living room for me. Everyone thought this was hilarious. Then my Uncle Mike started talking. I've got one too. Last year when Rose thought I was having car trouble, she offered to lend me $1,500 for repairs. I took the money and spent it on a fishing boat instead. I felt sick to my stomach. All these years, all these times I'd helped my family when they said they needed money, and they were just lying to me, using me. Then I heard Trevor's father's voice. "You know, it's really something to have a family member like Rose," he said. "Someone who's got money and just hands it out whenever you ask. Like having your own personal bank that never asks questions." "That's exactly what she is," my mom agreed, "a walking ATM machine. The best part is she never even asks for the money back. Just gives it away like she's some kind of charity." "Well, we need to keep this gravy train going," Dad said. "Can't let her get too smart and start saying no to us." My mom's voice got excited. "Actually, that's perfect timing, because I've been thinking about our next big ask. Emma and Trevor are probably going to get engaged soon, right, Emma?" "We've been talking about it," Emma said. "Trevor's been looking at rings." "Perfect," Mom continued. "When that happens, we'll convince Rose that she needs to pay for the wedding. I'm thinking we can get at least 10 or 15,000 out of her for that. Maybe more if we play it right." "How are you going to convince her to do that?" someone asked. "Easy," Mom replied. "We'll tell her it's what families do for each other. That she's the successful one, so she should help her little sister have the perfect wedding. We'll make her feel guilty if she even thinks about saying no." I heard the sound of glasses clinking. "Here's to stupid relatives with money," someone said, and everyone laughed and cheered. "And here's to Rose, the gift that keeps on giving," my mom added. I stood there in the hallway, clutching that bag of pastries, feeling like my whole world had just collapsed. These people, my own family, thought I was an idiot. They'd been playing me for years, taking my money, using my house, and laughing at me behind my back. All those times I'd felt good about helping them out, all those times I'd felt needed and appreciated, it was all fake. They didn't see me as generous or kind. They saw me as stupid and gullible. I turned around as quietly as I could and walked back toward the front door. I had to get out of there before they realized I was in the house. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely turn the door handle. I made it back to my car without making a sound and put the pastries on the passenger seat. My hands were still trembling as I started the engine and backed out of the driveway. I drove away slowly, trying not to let my emotions overwhelm me until I was safely away from the house. When I finally made it back to my apartment, I just collapsed on my couch and cried for hours. I spent the whole weekend thinking about what I'd heard and what I was going to do about it. Part of me wanted to call them right away and confront them. But then I realized something. I needed to wait and see what they did next. They'd just made plans to get me to pay for Emma's wedding. Let's see how that plays out. I didn't have to wait long. 2 weeks later, my phone rang on a Tuesday evening. It was my mom, and she sounded absolutely thrilled about something. "Rose, oh honey, I have the most wonderful news," she gushed. "Emma and Trevor got engaged. Can you believe it? Trevor proposed last night with this beautiful ring. Emma is over the moon." "That's so sweet," I said, playing along. I bet she was completely surprised. She was, and Rose, we want to have an engagement party to celebrate. I was thinking we could have it at your country house in a couple of weeks. Would that be okay? Here it comes, I thought. Of course, Mom, you know the house is always available for family events. There was a pause, and I could almost hear her gearing up for the big ask. "Rose, honey, there's just one tiny little problem," she said, and her voice suddenly sounded worried. "What's wrong, Mom?" "Well, we want to make this party really special for Emma and Trevor. You know, with nice catering and decorations and everything. But we're a little short on funds right now." I had to bite my tongue to keep from laughing. "Oh no, that's too bad. I feel terrible asking, but we need about $5,000 to make this party really nice. For the catering, the decorations, a gorgeous engagement cake. I know it's a lot of money, but Emma only gets engaged once, you know?" There it was, the exact same plan I'd heard them discussing 2 weeks ago. $5,000, I said, making my voice sound concerned. Wow, that is a lot. I know, but you make good money at your job, and Emma is your only sister. This is such an important moment for her. I could practically hear her holding her breath, waiting for me to agree. Mom, I wish I could help, but I don't have that kind of money available right now, I said. I just had some unexpected expenses come up. Some repairs on my apartment that I had to pay for. My emergency fund is pretty much tapped out. I could tell she was disappointed, but she was trying not to show it. Oh, well, what if Emma and Trevor and your dad and I paid for everything up front, and then you could pay us back later when you have the money? Perfect, they were so predictable. That sounds like it might work, I said. You guys go ahead and order whatever you want for the party, and I'll pay you back as soon as I can. Really? Oh Rose, you're an angel. I'll call the caterers tomorrow and get everything set up. Sounds great, Mom, I can't wait for the party. This is going to be so wonderful, Emma will be thrilled. After she hung up, I sat there shaking my head. They were so sure they had me figured out. So confident that I'd just hand over $5,000 without question, just like I always had before. Well, they were about to learn something new about me. 2 weeks passed, and on Thursday I called a locksmith and scheduled them to come to my country house on Friday evening. I told them I needed all the locks changed, front door, back door, everything. I made sure to schedule them for late in the evening when no one from my family would be around. On Friday after work, I drove out to the house. Sure enough, they'd already been there decorating for Saturday's party. The place looked beautiful, actually. They'd put up streamers and balloons, set up tables, hung lights everywhere. They'd really gone all out. I almost felt bad about what I was going to do, almost. The locksmith showed up right on time at 7 p.m. Nice guy named Frank. After he left, I walked through the house one more time, looking at all the decorations. Then I started taking everything down. Every streamer, every balloon, every fancy table setting. I stuffed it all into big black garbage bags. When I was done, I dragged the bags around to the corner of the house where they'd be visible from the driveway but out of the way. Then I drove home to wait for tomorrow's show to begin. The next morning, Saturday, I sent my mom a text message. Hey Mom, I'm really sorry but I won't be able to make it to Emma's engagement party today. I'm feeling pretty sick with a cold and don't want to get everyone else sick. She texted back about an hour later, that's fine, Rose, feel better. That was it. No, oh no, are you okay? Or, do you need anything? Or, I hope you feel better soon. Just that's fine. She didn't even pretend to care about my health. It was like she was actually relieved I wouldn't be there. I spent the morning relaxing in my apartment, waiting to see what would happen. I ordered a pizza for lunch and made myself a nice cup of coffee. Then I settled in to watch some TV. Around 2 o'clock, my phone started ringing. It was my mom. I looked at it and smiled, then let it go to voicemail. A few minutes later, my dad called. I didn't answer that one either. Then Emma called. Nope. Then my mom again. Still not answering. My phone kept buzzing with text messages. I finally looked at them after about 20 minutes of constant notifications. Rose, we're at the house but our keys don't work, Mom. The locks are different, what happened, Dad? Rose, why aren't you answering your phone? We can't get in, Emma. This is crazy, the keys don't fit at all, Mom again. I set my phone aside and let them panic for another 30 minutes while I enjoyed my pizza. It was actually pretty peaceful, knowing that right now they were all standing outside my house, confused and frustrated, probably arguing with each other about what to do. Finally, when I figured they'd suffered enough, I answered when my mom called again. Rose, thank God you answered, she shouted into the phone. We're all here at your house and we can't get in. All the relatives are here, Trevor's parents are here, the caterers just showed up with all the food, and we're standing in the driveway like idiots because the door won't open. That's weird, I said, taking a sip of my coffee. What do you mean weird? Something's wrong with your locks. Actually, nothing's wrong with them, I replied. I had them changed yesterday. There was dead silence on the other end of the phone for about 10 seconds. You changed the locks? Mom finally stammered. Why would you do that? Well, I heard you call me stupid about a month ago, I said casually. You and everyone else there were having a good laugh about how dumb I am. Another pause. Rose, honey, I think you misunderstood something, she said, suddenly switching to her sweet voice. We would never say anything like that about you. Really, so you didn't say I was incredibly stupid and that I do whatever you tell me to do like a puppet? I asked. No, of course not, you must have misheard. And Emma didn't brag about scamming rent money out of me every month? More silence. And Carol didn't laugh about spending my dental emergency money on furniture instead? Rose, you're not making sense, Mom said, but her voice was getting shaky. I heard the whole conversation, Mom, every single word. About how I'm a walking ATM machine. About how you were planning to get me to pay for Emma's wedding. About the toast you all made to stupid relatives with money. The line went quiet again. I could hear voices in the background, probably everyone asking what was happening. Look, even if you heard something like that, Mom said finally, you have to understand we were just joking around. We didn't mean anything by it. I laughed. Joking? You think it's funny to take thousands of dollars from me while calling me an idiot behind my back? Rose, you're being ridiculous. We're family, family helps each other out. You're right, Mom, family should help each other out. But what you've been doing isn't helping, it's stealing. I heard Emma's voice in the background yelling something, and then she was on the phone. Rose, you're being a complete brat, Emma screamed. We've already decorated the house. Everyone is here. The food is here. You're going to ruin my engagement party. Actually, Emma, I already took down all your decorations, I said calmly. They're in garbage bags at the corner of the house. You can pick them up and get off my property. You can't do this to me, she wailed, this is my special day. Your special day that you expected me to pay for while laughing about how stupid I am. Yeah, I can definitely do this to you. We're going to break down the door, Emma shrieked. No, you're not, I replied, because I have security cameras and an alarm system, remember? If you damage my property, I'll call the police and have you all arrested. Emma started crying and handed the phone back to my mom. Rose, please, Mom said, can't we work this out? Just let us in and we'll talk about this like adults. There's nothing to work out, Mom. I heard exactly what you all think of me, the talking is over. But we spent $5,000 on this party, she said desperately. I burst out laughing, and whose fault is that? I told you I didn't have the money. You decided to spend it anyway, hoping you could guilt me into paying you back later. That was your choice. Rose, that's not fair, we're your family. You're right, you are my family. And that's what makes this whole thing so much worse. I took a deep breath. You know what, Mom? Take your decorations and your food and your guests and get off my property. And don't come back. You don't mean that, she said, but she sounded scared now. I absolutely mean it, I'm done being your personal ATM. I'm done being the stupid sister and daughter who pays for everything. I'm done with all of you. I hung up the phone and turned off the ringer. For the next hour, I watched on my security cameras as they all packed up and left. It was actually pretty satisfying to see them loading the catering food back into the delivery truck and shoving the decorations into their cars. Emma was crying the whole time. Trevor looked completely confused. His parents looked mortified. Good. Let them be embarrassed. The next morning, Sunday, there was loud pounding on my apartment door. I looked through the peephole and saw my parents and Emma standing there, looking furious. I opened the door. What do you want? We want to talk, Dad said, pushing past me into my apartment. You ruined everything, Emma screamed. My engagement party is ruined and it's all your fault. Actually, it's your fault for thinking I was stupid enough to pay for it after what I heard you say about me. You owe us $5,000, Mom shouted. We spent that money because of you. I laughed so hard I almost cried. You spent that money because you thought you could manipulate me into paying for it. That backfired on you, didn't it? Mom's face went pale. She finally realized that I had set them up on purpose. You did this intentionally, she said slowly. Of course I did. You think I'm stupid, remember? But it turns out I'm a lot smarter than you gave me credit for. Dad stepped forward. Until you apologize to us and pay us back that money, we're not speaking to you anymore. I smiled at him. Perfect. That saves me the trouble of cutting you out of my life myself. I don't want to talk to any of you anymore anyway. You can't be serious, Mom said. Dead serious. I'm done giving you money. I'm done letting you use me. I'm much smarter now, aren't I? I opened my apartment door. Now get out. They left without another word. That was 6 months ago. I never sold the country house. Instead, I signed a contract with a real estate agency and they rent it out as a vacation rental. The income helps pay my mortgage, and I don't have to deal with my freeloading family anymore. I saw on Facebook that Emma got married last month. It was a small, cheap ceremony at a local church. I wasn't invited, obviously. I didn't send a gift either. My parents and Emma have tried reaching out a few times through mutual friends, but I ignore them. I'm not interested in reconciling. They showed me exactly what they think of me, and I believe them. I'm actually happier now without them in my life. Turns out I'm not as stupid as they thought I was. I'm just done being their fool.